Hello and welcome to one of our SBHS Alumni College panels regarding in-state schools. I'm Nina Track, 2017 SBHS grad and current junior at Penn State University, and these SBHS alumni have volunteered their time to give back to the South Brunswick community in hopes to help you get clarification and inspiration during your college search and selection process. The questions you will hear have been gathered over the years through various college panel discussions at the high school. If there is a question that you would like answered that was not addressed during this session, please see the link at the bottom of our SBHS Alumni College panel discussion page. Let's get started by asking our panelists to each introduce themselves. Alex, you want to start?
There we go. All right, so my name is Alex Giampetro. I graduated from South Brunswick in 2016. I now go to Montclair State University, and I'm a senior. I majored in child advocacy and policy, and I had a minor in criminal justice. And I think, is that everything? All right.
My name's April Patko. I'm actually in my 5th year at Rutgers University. I graduated from South Brunswick in 2015, and I'm a mechanical engineering major.
Hi guys, my name's Karina. I graduated South Brunswick in 2014, and I graduated Rutgers University in 2018 with a major in journalism and media studies and a minor in digital communication, information, and media. So it's a mouthful.
Hi everyone, I'm Bhumi, and I graduated South Brunswick in 2016, and I'm a senior at the College of New Jersey. I'm a bio major, and I have minors in chemistry and public health.
Thanks, you guys. I'm really happy to have you all here. So putting yourselves back in the shoes of a lot of the students who are watching this, what was the main thing you were looking for when you were looking for a university or college? And how did you make that final decision to end up where you were?
I think for me, one of the biggest things was just knowing that I would feel comfortable there. And so whenever I toured a campus, it was, could I see myself going here? Could I see myself walking around as a student? And when I ultimately was trying to make my decision, I made a pros and cons list. So I was between Rutgers and Rensselaer in upstate New York. So one was really close to home, one was not, one was public, one was private. But I really just put it all on a list. This is what I like about this one. This is what I don't like. And Rutgers was really the school for me.
I agree with April. I think one of the biggest things I was looking for was a sense of community. I grew up only, 10, 15 minutes from Rutgers. So I really spent a lot of my time there, even as a kid. So when I toured looking, for schools, I really felt at home there. And I knew even though I didn't know anyone on campus yet, I could, like April said, see myself there. And comfort is definitely something you should look for.
Yeah, and I think that going to school in New Jersey, it also, like the whole comfortability factor, like I knew my parents were only an hour away, but because I went to Montclair, so I wasn't too close, I wasn't too far, so that was definitely a factor. And a lot of my friends also went to school in New Jersey, and I think that also helped with my decision. It was a little bit less nerve-wracking because I knew on the weekends if there was something going on, I could maybe have my friend over, go to my friends to, still have social stuff.
And just to add on to it, I think one of the biggest things was, as everyone mentioned, the sense of community, but I really recommend doing a college tour. So I was between TCNJ and Rutgers. And for me, as I did the tour and I had to sit on a bus, I immediately was like, I can't do this. I can't be on the bus to get to my classes. And it just felt really overwhelming. Not that I didn't love the school, but I was like, it just felt too big. Versus TCNJ, the reason why I ended up picking it was because it was a smaller enclosed community, and I really, really wanted that. So getting the chance, if you have, to be in person or talk to people about what their daily life was like and things like that was something that really mattered for me.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. And even now, when students can't visit college campuses, there's a lot of opportunities to get that information like in a virtual way. So there's virtual tours. I know a bunch of different schools have the opportunity to connect with current students online. So getting that personal experience and a better understanding for the feel of the college, even though it's a little bit different now, is definitely still possible. And I can totally see where it's important. And I guess thinking past after you made that decision, you talked about comfort. And so I'm wondering what resources or opportunities you've taken advantage of that helped you to find your place once you were on campus?
While like getting on campus, once I visited, another thing I think TCNJ specifically had was they match you to like an upperclassman or someone who's already on campus. And I think they're trying to switch that program currently so you can at least talk to an upperclassman and kind of be paired with them. But we were allowed to do one overnight stay. So we got to fill out like a survey. We got to see like what our major was or anything we wanted, like maybe it was a club we wanted to join, etc. And once we got paired up, we got to just talk to someone. And we got to kind of go with them. So I was able to go to classes. I was able to see like the labs and get like a firsthand experience when I did that. And now it's just more like getting to talk to some of the underclassmen or people who want to come in and really get that sense.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, April. I was just going to say, for at Montclair, we do learning communities. So when I first started, I was actually a history major to do teaching for that, and I ended up changing. So you'll go in with a learning community and you'll have a lot of classes with the same people. And even though I changed my major, for my friends who were all in the same learning community that were communications majors, they met so many friends that way because you really move along together. And I think that was a great resource that Montclair has for especially freshmen.
I think that no matter where you go, all colleges are really good about offering just a ton of opportunities. So if school's your thing, you can join a club related to that. If you like volunteering, there's something related to that. If you don't know, you could try out a bunch of different stuff and see what people you click with, see what you really enjoy the most, and you'll find a community that you'll belong in.
Jumping off of that, I felt what worked for me was just always having my ear to the ground. Speaking for Rutgers, like April said, they always had events and fairs and like interest meetings for things. And I would just kind of go to every single one, even if I was by myself, because I would meet people that way. You'll find that, branching out of your comfort zone and doing things that, you might have to do alone, you'll end up making more friends in the process. So just kind of always being open and receptive to new experiences because they're there. You just gotta, like I said, keep your ear to the ground.
And keeping those experiences in mind, what would you say is the most exciting opportunity you've been able to take part in your time at each of your universities?
For me, I joined Greek life as soon as I got on campus. That was something that I'd always wanted to do, even when I was in high school. And granted, it's not for everyone, but I definitely was excited to make that big school smaller. And through Greek life, I got to meet so many new people and do amazing things. We had events like Rutgers hosts Dance Marathon every year. So there were a lot of great opportunities to give back to the community as well. But, joining that sorority really gave me the opportunity to sort of grow and learn with girls who I knew had the same values and the same interests as I did. And, they became that group of people that I could branch out of my comfort zone and do things with, which was really important to me. And they also helped me with my career. I had a lot of older sorority sisters who were so supportive, and they were also in the journalism field, and they gave me great advice, great connections. They'd edit my resume for me. So there's a lot of fantastic benefits to joining Greek life. And if you're looking to create a family, I definitely recommend that.
For me, I've been in Air Force ROTC since my freshman year. So in a week and a half, I'm finally going to commission into the Air Force. But in a school that's as big as Rutgers, I joined that group of people between like 50 and 80 underclassmen, upperclassmen, that immediately, like, I had a group of friends. And then within that, I was also a part of a service organization, and I got super involved in that. I enjoyed that much more than any of my schoolwork. So it's definitely, once you find your group, you'll find your friends, and no matter how big your school is, like Rutgers, I never thought I'd end up at Rutgers, but you find your community and it doesn't feel as big.
Yeah, I think Karina said it really well, how it's all about like making a big community small. I know especially Rutgers and Montclair are pretty big schools, so that was definitely really important for me too. I always considered myself a really outgoing person, but then I went to Montclair and I was like, oh my gosh, like how do I make friends? So I think that's super important, getting involved, which I'm sure you'll all hear 1,000 times, but it really is so important. I also joined Greek Life, agree with everything that Karina was saying. And then I also joined a club soccer team, and I didn't stay on it for that long because I was kind of finding my niche. Do I want to do Greek life? Did I want to do soccer? But just getting involved in both of those ways were really helpful.
I ended up joining a service organization my freshman year, and for me, even though I didn't stay on it for the first 4 years, it was a way I met a lot of people all at once. So at TCNJ, I found myself sometimes that you kind of have class with similar people, so you get grouped with them easily, but I wanted to just meet a bunch of people on campus, and I ended up joining that. And through the service organization, I actually got to join, I joined EMS because there was someone on there, and I really wanted to be an EMT, but I didn't have the chance to become one when I was in high school. And through TCNJ EMS, I've been able to become an EMT. I've been now managing the squad and all of that. So it's been a great time, and I just got to meet so many cool people through that.
You've all touched on this at least a bit in all of your answers to this last question, but maybe to expand upon it a little bit more. So with all of those extracurriculars that you've been involved with, especially since we have a panel of all seniors and having graduated already, looking back on your time in college, how have they influenced or shaped your college experience?
For me, Greek life, that was definitely the pivotal moment of my college career. And I went into college not really thinking of a sorority, because at Montclair, I didn't think Greek life would be, that big of a deal. But it totally was the changing moment when I fell in love with Montclair. Was when I really got involved. It was just the way I made all my best friends, and I just gave my senior goodbye speech on Sunday, and it was just I just realized how meaningful that experience has been. So that definitely shaped my experience for the better.
There are sorority sisters who I actually work with right now at MTV. I have at least 3 of them who work on the same exact floor as me. So that was something that just kind of fell into place after I had gotten my job. And it was really just that moment that everyone tells you about, these girls, oh, they're going to change your life. They're going to be with you forever. And it wasn't until I started my first day at work that I was like, oh my gosh, these connections are real. What people tell you is true. The girls that I met there and outside of my sorority, just the people I've met in Greek life in general, they became my nucleus in so many ways. So I reach out to them for help even now in my professional life, and we're obviously still friends outside of college, but it's great to know that I left Rutgers with a group of people who, as I said before, share my same values, but also share my same career goals. And in that way, we support each other and we help each other grow in a way that kind of extended beyond, my hometown friends. So it was an exciting little match made in friendship heaven at Rutgers University.
Yeah, I think Karina touched on a good point, that you're building your network in college, and that might sound a little scary your freshman year, that whatever you decide is really going to impact your future that much. But looking back, not only has ROTC for me defined the memories I made, the group of friends that I joined into, but it gave me something to work towards. And now going into the future, I'll be going to my first base, and I'm already connected with other Rutgers alumni. I might not have even done ROTC with them. They might be that much older, but you're still part of that network, and everyone's willing to go out of their way to help you and help you further your career.
And I think like that's like the biggest point is like everyone's there to help you and whatever club you join. So whether it's like I joined EMS, the service club, or just random things I did, it's just finding that community and finding those people who, regardless of whatever's going on in their life, they'll take the time to help you. Whether it's right now, I'm applying for jobs, so they're helping me like figure out how to work Zoom and do good practice Zoom interviews, or they're helping me when it's like figuring out how to write applications when I'm applying to schools and things like that. Like they take the time regardless to figure out what's going on. And some of my friends who are older, like if they've gone through the application process, they're like, okay, do this. Or, hey, Boomy, like here's a job that's opened up right now. Like you might be interested. And it's regardless of whatever place you're at, they're just willing to help you because they want to support you.
Really exciting to hear all the different opportunities that you've taken advantage of and the fact that so much exists outside of the classroom to make college a really valuable time for people. But when people are deciding on schools, they're also thinking about that daunting task of figuring out what it is they want to major in. So how did each of you go about choosing what it was that you wanted to study? Alex, you want to start?
So I started off, as I said, a history major to do teaching. But I had always had a passion for social work, but everyone had always told me, oh, you're never going to make money, blah, 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 all this stuff. But by my sophomore year, I realized I really don't like history that much. And Montclair, unfortunately, they didn't have a BSW program or a bachelor's in social work program. So I was looking at my alternatives, and I found child advocacy and policy. And I think what really helped me make my decision was when typically, I'm sure you can look it up and stuff at the different schools that you're looking at, they have lists of courses. And I looked at the courses and I was like, I am interested in every single course that's on this list. And I just fell in love and I never looked back, and that was definitely just so helpful. So, yeah.
For me, I definitely never dreamed growing up that I was going to be an engineer or anything like that. It wasn't until high school that I kind of decided to pursue something like that. But for me, it was just that like math and science were the subjects that I enjoyed and that I did well in. And that's what it came down to. Like I wanted to, like Alex said, you want to do something that you enjoy. And if you're not, then you're doing yourself harm. So find out what you love and what you're good at and pursue it.
I always thought I wanted to be a bio major or a biology major, so I kind of went into TCMJ doing that. But my first semester, I was like, I don't know if I like this. So I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was kind of really lost when I first entered like my freshman year. So what I decided to do was, instead of switching my major, because I'm pre-med, so a lot of my classes were, my biology classes were the ones I would have needed ultimately for graduate school. I decided that like my elective classes, I picked them so they'd be classes that you have to fulfill. So TCMJ is a liberal arts school, so you have liberal arts requirements that you have to fulfill. So I decided to pick those classes based on other majors. So for example, I was like, maybe I want to be a public health major instead. So I tried to pick classes that both fulfilled my liberal learning requirement and also my public health requirement. So that way I could try out a new field, see what it's about, and then at the same time, if I wasn't really into it, then it was fine. I still like fulfilled my liberal learning requirement, and that was great. For me, I got really lucky. Once I got past my first semester at college, I actually fell in love with bio. And for me, I actually ended up joining the research department. And for me, that was like it for me. And I knew that's exactly where I wanted to be. But along the way, because I let myself be open to other things, I picked up a chemistry and public health minor along the way by accident, to be honest. And I just found other things that I love so much. So going forward, I'm trying to figure out how I can intertwine research and medicine, because I was able to just explore so much more.
For me, I knew I always wanted to get into entertainment, but the roadblock that I was hitting was how am I going to do it? What courses can I take? What majors am I going to have on my degree that's going to get me to where I want to go? And the most important piece of advice I have to that is what everyone else has been saying: know your interests and stick to them. The biggest thing that I did was Alex made a great point about looking at the course list, checking out what every possible major is, but then dive a little deeper and say, all right, do half of these classes even interest me at all? I was kind of torn between communications and journalism, and those are pretty similar things in a lot of different ways, but a lot of the communications classes didn't really interest me as much. So I had also ended up making my decision based on the advisors, the people who I knew could help me more. And I felt that the advisors at the journalism, in the journalism major, were going to offer me a lot more of assistance in getting me to where I wanted to be today. And ultimately, as far, if you're looking to get into entertainment, the best thing I could say is classes are very, very important, but experience outside of the classroom is really what matters most. Yes, I'm a journalism major, but I run a Twitter account for a living. So I do social media, and that's not really something I learned in class. That's something I learned in all of my internships. So take classes that spark your interest, take classes that push you to learn more and new and exciting things. But really find those advisors, find those professors who are going to help you get opportunities outside of the classroom. That really helped me inform my decision for my major.
Something really interesting that I think I've heard from all of you is about the classes that you take and what you figured out once you were at school. And so I think a good takeaway from that is that you don't always know going into school exactly what it is that you want, and you don't have to, because you have the opportunities to learn that along the way. And it's really cool to see how each of you have kind of applied that to your passions and your interests academically. And going along with that, the academic shift from high school to college is definitely different. And there's a bunch of different kind of transitions that come along with that. So would any of you be willing to talk a little bit about your transition from high school to college?
I felt like it was an easy transition because April and I can both speak to it. We did competitive sports through high school, so we didn't really have much time to do anything. So the biggest adjustment for me, I think, when I got to college was that I had all this time and I didn't really know what to do with it. So budgeting time is the most important thing, I think, to help that transition academically. There's no need to overwhelm yourself with studying 24 hours a day, because you do have those 24 hours a day to take classes, go socialize, and be with friends. So it is tricky to find a balance, but it's something you'll have to really work out yourself. And my biggest advice on that transition is to relax a little bit, know that you do have time, and figure out how to use that time wisely.
I think South Brunswick does a pretty good job of preparing for you for college, and that my high school classes were longer than any of my college classes were. So you get to college and some people come there and they're used to 45-minute classes. We're used to 90. So when you go down to 80-minute classes, it's nice. The fact that you don't have the same class every day in high school, like the same thing's going to happen in college. So South Brunswick is great in that. I think the biggest adjustment is that your teachers, at least in my case, I was a STEM major. I had a lot of big lectures. Your teachers aren't going to care about you as much as they do in high school. And so you really have to be your own advocate. If you're struggling, you have to seek help, because no one's going to hold your hand through it anymore. And that's kind of a little tough love that I'm giving, but that'll be the biggest adjustment, that there were people that I were in classes with freshman year that by the time I got to senior year, they weren't in those classes anymore because they had to switch majors. So you really have to take care of yourself, and make sure that you're your own advocate for getting help if you need it, because there's so many resources. That's the other thing, that there's so many more resources to get help than in high school, in my opinion. So there's tutors, anything that you could possibly need help with, you can get it for sure.
I definitely agree with that. And one of the things that I was told when I joined college that I thought was, or like went to college, was something that was really helpful, was don't take a lot at once. So something that I was told was, like, freshman year, make sure that you're good at, like your academics and everything's fine. And I thought that like TCNJ really prepared me for that. But one of the things I did outside of the classroom was I tried not to take more than one or two activities, or joined more than one or two things at once, because I had, once again, a lot of free time. So I felt like I could have done all these things, but someone was like, take a breath, like, it's fine. Maybe pick one or two things that you love so much and do them well. So instead of trying to do like 10 things that you can like kind of be okay at, maybe do those 2 things so you can maybe like become on the executive board, or you can like do your own project, or you can like get some leadership in there, or just really, really care about that thing, because it is going to be about quality versus quantity at the end of the day.
Yeah, the transition for me was definitely a little more difficult just because I was a more laid back high school student, I'll say. So the transition to college, it was more difficult. And even though the academics were a little bit more difficult, but as April was saying, South Brunswick actually does really, really prepare you for college. Another thing I'll say is, as I was saying before, as someone who I do consider myself pretty outgoing, it was hard to make friends and stuff, but as everyone's been saying, it's just all about just getting involved to really find your niche. And there's one more thing I was gonna say. Oh, right. As a child advocate major, advocating for yourself is so, so important. That was something that everyone told me. I don't want to be repetitive, but just to emphasize it, it's so important to advocate yourself to your professors, to academic advisors, because they're all there for you. I mean, it's what you're paying for. So definitely utilize all of those services.
And you guys are segueing perfectly into our last question, which you've touched a little bit on, but judging based off of what I've heard already, I think you'll have another piece of advice for our students that are watching. But is there any advice that you would give to students getting ready to enter the world of college? Or is there any advice that you wish you had gotten before you entered college?
I would say don't be afraid to do something just because you feel uncomfortable doing it. I think that's the biggest lesson I learned, that there are a lot of positions I sought out in extracurriculars that I definitely didn't feel like I was ready for or prepared for, but you'll just learn so much by putting yourself out there. And the other thing is, don't be afraid to reach out to people or seek help. Like, you're coming from South Brunswick, you're part of such a huge community. Like, if you have a teacher that you trust a lot and go up to them, ask them, hey, is there anyone that you know that has done this? Like, do you know any students in the past or alumni that have done this? And I'm sure that they can put you in contact with someone, like, even, and everyone's willing to help you too. Alex's brother Danny actually did ROTC at a different school, and I never knew him in high school, but when I was getting ready for my boot camp, you know, he reached out to me to answer any of my questions. And, you know, like, we never knew each other in high school, but we're part of the same network, so everyone's willing to help you. So don't be afraid to seek help, and don't be afraid to feel uncomfortable.
I think the biggest takeaways that I got from, sorry, there's so much I want to say, but the words are just coming out at once. The biggest piece of advice that stays with me is never say no to an opportunity, and don't take no for an answer. And that's what helped me through most of college and helped me through all my internships. I think there are going to be a lot of great opportunities that come your way. And like April said, you know, if you feel uncomfortable about stepping out of your comfort zone or whatever the situation is, take those opportunities and do these things, because college is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And it goes by really, really fast. You'll blink your eye and you'll be sitting there in your cap and gown. You'll be wondering where the time went. And I think on top of that, I'd say definitely at the same time, sit back a little bit and give yourself time. I'm a type A personality to the T. You know, I was sitting in my advisor's office as a freshman saying, when can I get an internship? When can I do this? When can I do that? And he's like, relax. You know, sit down, you have time, and things will fall into place. It's great to be proactive, and that's super, super important. But also, don't give yourself heart palpitations because you need an internship tomorrow. These things will happen. Just like I said, stay proactive and keep your ear to the ground. Make time to be social, make time to make friends, because, it's not just about going to parties and having fun. It's about building your network. And it's great to get out of the book and build that circle of people around you who are going to help you in your career. And the last piece of advice I have, keep your door open. If you live in a dorm, keep your door open, because that is when you make your best friends. Okay, they'll wander in front of your door and offer you some popcorn, and you'll be talking for 4 hours. So you want to keep your door open, and you want to make sure that you branch out, knock on other people's doors, build yourself a little squad, because my friends from freshman year of college are still some of my best friends today. And if I didn't have them, I don't know where I'd be. So good luck, everybody.
Awesome. Well, I think that is a perfect note to wrap up on. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. This was so helpful, and I think really important for everyone to hear. And I want to also thank our students for watching. And again, if there was a question that wasn't answered that you'd like to be addressed, please see the link at the bottom of our SBHS Alumni College Panel discussion page, where you can also find links to different panels regarding different college experiences and majors. And we wish you all the best in your college search, and above all, stay safe, Vikings. Thanks, everyone.